Hello everyone, my name is Jocelyn Ramirez. Thank you for watching my presentation on managing different multi-generations in the workplace. I chose 5 sources that I will give a quick overview on, and then also correlating it to my final paper on the department of my choosing. I will also give 2 conflicts that may arise when working with different generations and 2 resolutions of my choosing. For my first source, I used an article from business.com. It focuses on managing different generations in the workplace. Today's workforce can include baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. Because each generation grew up during different times, they have different ways of communicating, working, and what they expect from their work. Baby boomers tend to be more traditional and prefer face to face communication. Gen X tends to be independent and values work-life balance. Millennials are more comfortable with technology and they tend to value collaboration and feedback. Gen Z is the newest generation in the workforce and tends to value technology, flexibility, and opportunities to grow. With all the different generations working together, managers have to understand that there's not one management style that is going to work for everyone. It emphasizes the importance to be flexible with communication, understanding what motivates the different employees, and also avoid making assumptions based on the person's age or their generation. It also emphasizes creating opportunities for employees to work together and learn from each other from their own experiences and what they could each bring to the table. For my second article, I used an article from BizWoman that talks about relatable leadership and how communication has changed in the workplace. In the article, Rachel Mahoney talks about how employees today are looking for a connection with their managers and want leaders who are approachable and communicate with their team. With different generations working together, everyone may not have the same expectations from their manager or communicates in the same way. This makes managing a team challenging because managers have to understand their different employees, who they're working with, and be aware on how to communicate with them effectively. The article also talks about trust, psychological safety, and emotional intelligence. Part of building trust is making sure employees feel comfortable being honest, or bringing up issues. Trust is broken down into 4 areas: connection, consistency, competence, and care. Emotional intelligence is also about leaders being aware of how they come across to others and understanding that employees may respond differently to the way they communicate. It also focuses on managers knowing their team and creating better communication and connection between all of their employees. For my third source, I used an article from HR News. It talks about the workplace becoming more age diverse with the 4 different generations now working together. With all those generations, there's obviously different communication styles, values, experiences, and how comfortable each person is with technology. Communication sometimes could be a challenge for managers because different generations have different ideas on what is appropriate or acceptable in the workplace. These differences may lead to misunderstandings or microaggressions. So, having open communication with their employees and having respectable communication, it's important so that every employee could feel comfortable. It also talks about technology. Younger generations like Gen Z grew up using technology, while older generations may not have as much experiences. For example, in the article, it says that 55% of Gen Z sees AI as an opportunity compared to 43% of baby boomers. Because workplaces continue bringing new technology, it's important for managers to provide training and support to make sure that everyone has the same opportunities and they feel comfortable with the new tools that are being implemented. For my fourth source, I used an article from Bentley University. It talks about the 6 different generations in the workforce, from the silent generation to Gen Alpha. It takes a different approach and it talks about how managers should not assume someone is going to work or act a certain way just because of generation they are a part of. Even though there are differences between generation, age is not always the only reason for those differences. It could depend on where they're at in life, work experience, or what they personally value. For example, younger employees may value things like work-life balance or having flexibility, but that does not necessarily mean every younger employee is going to have the same expectations. When managing different generation, the focus should be more on getting to know your employees individually and understanding what works best for them instead of grouping everyone together based on their age. Having different generations working together can also benefit the whole workplace because they bring different experiences and perspectives. Creating opportunities for employees to work together and learn from each other can help build a strong team. For my last source, I used an article from Corridor Business Journal. It talks about how younger generations are shifting the workplace culture. Because different generations are working together, they bring different experiences, ideas, and expectations of what they want. One of the benefits of having different generations is that it brings different ideas and different ways of doing things. Younger generations like Gen Z and millennials tend to value things like flexibility, work life balance, personal growth, and meaningful work. Because more generations have entered the workforce, it also pushed workplaces to make changes like offering flexibility, remote work, wellness programs, and different types of benefits. Having different generations working together also gives employees the opportunity to learn from each other. Older generations may bring more years of experience and knowledge, while younger generations may bring new ideas. They're more comfortable with new technology, and having a mix of both can bring different perspectives and help workplaces continue to grow and change. For my proposed department on emerging technology and digital responsibility, I think one conflict that may arise is different perspectives that employees will bring. I think some employees will be better at policy and government due to years of experience, while I think other generations will be better at technology due to when the technology came out. So I think some people will be better at different softwares or working with AI. I think a different conflict is communication. I think some generations are going to prefer structure and face-to-face communication, while other generations are going to prefer flexibility, having Zoom meetings, and also receiving frequent feedback. I think one solution would be team meetings and collaboration. So all the team members could know each other, they feel comfortable who they're working with, and they also feel comfortable on receiving feedback and working as a team. I think another solution is training. I think as technology is emerging and new softwares are coming out, I think it's important for trainings to be given to everyone so everyone could feel up to date, but they could also build trust and feel like they're safe to ask any questions or collaborate with their team or ask their managers questions. So I